273. Mm-hmm.
I think that's absolute zero, right? That's the temperature of absolute zero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
negative 273 degrees Celsius is where everything, all molecules or microorganisms and everything stop movement.
Stop.
Absolute zero.
Yeah. But it was one of the things you had said something in one of the episodes about PCH and Randy. And one thing I will always remember about Randy, long after he stopped running his team, where I think I saw him at an airport. I saw him somewhere. It was kind of non-karting related. And I go, hey, man, what have you been up to? Blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, I just came back from the track. And it's like, oh, okay. I go, well, what were you doing? And, oh, it was on the phone. We were talking on the phone. And he was the wrench for Jamie McMurray for one of the road tax races. And you were telling me about how his program was just so professional. And it's like the big rig and the big tent and everything was top notch. And the one thing I always will remember about Randy is his passion just for karting in general. It's like, how many people can you say are completely out of karting, and you look back at it, and his kid's not racing, you weren't racing, and here he is going to a road tax race to wrench for one of his friends. And I always thought that was just a really neat perspective from Randy.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if you knew, but Randy himself used to race motorcycles, so he's got that racing bug and that competition. Randy didn't race to have fun. Randy raced to win. 100%. Randy was, just as competitive or more competitive than most of his drivers that he had on his team. Randy, when he raced and he showed the track, it wasn't just for fun and games. As many people think, they have a popcorn machine, they have the margaritas. Yeah, they're having to make it a family event, but the heart and soul of that team was Randy wanting to win.
Yeah.
And that's why he just did whatever it took to make sure he gave all of his drivers the best opportunity possible to win.
Yeah, and I kind of sidetracked everything because that one's just been on my mind for a couple of weeks. Like again, as you were telling the stories of your experiences and stuff, that's one thing I just remember about Randy. It's like, man, just how cool is that? Just that passion, the passion for karting.
Yeah, I still talk to Randy every once in a while. He always wants to know what's going on and when I'm going down to SoCal so he can come check us out. Like I said, he's a racer himself. It's not, there's no question about it. He used to race motorcycles himself, and he's a racer. He loves racing, and I think, as we all know, and probably anyone that's, got enough time to listen to these long podcasts, we have a passion. We all have a passion for the same thing. It's racing, and everything that comes with racing, being it the camaraderie, the friendships, the heartaches, and everything else that come with the sport. We're all addicted to it, and I don't think it's one of the. You see it all the time. All these people that maybe get out of the sport and then they come. They always, the people that have been in it were in it for long enough. They always seem to crawl back in some way, shape, or form, because it's just like one of those things you can't. It's like you can't get away from it. And you're probably a perfect example of that. You said you went off, you were over it, and then here you are, full-fledged, working for a karting shop every day, and now doing a podcast
on karting. Yeah.
And then you have your own website about karting and everything. So it's one of those sports that, once you get that bug, you can't seem to ever get it away. And well, I guess why should you? If it's something that you're passionate about and you can do and enjoy doing it, and there's no reason why not to.
Yeah, who was it? Was Tom Kutcher years ago had said he was explaining why he loved karting so much, and he goes, "It's the only place you can go, put your helmet on, get on the track, go bang some gears, and just forget about every worry in the world." And maybe that's the attraction, the attractive part of karting. It's like, that's so true. It's like you put the helmet on, and your focus is the track. The focus is the driving on the track, and yeah, I mean, people. I've been fortunate enough to be around it for so long now that I'm watching kids of customers or drivers or competitors coming into the sport, or junior drivers I remember working with that are now calling me as adults. It's like, hey, I got a good job now. I'm ready to go spend some money on karting. But yeah, it's a great sport.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's so many different aspects that you can take away from it. So it's a neat thing, and I feel extremely fortunate that I've been able to do it for so long and be able to do it in the way that I've been able to do it, being factory driver and being able to travel the world racing go-karts and having this opportunity to have my own race team and even a kart brand bearing my name. I mean, I feel extremely fortunate, and it's thank you to all the people that have made it possible. I feel extremely blessed, fortunate, or however you want to say it.
You got a great group of guys out there. I mean, you have a really solid core group, and it doesn't hurt that you come out of the box and you win races. So that that doesn't hurt with the promotion either.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've had a lot of success. Thankfully, and I think a lot of the hard work it has paid off. But to be honest, I'm always like one of those guys. Like, it was first, okay, we'll get the kart off the ground, see how it goes, and then it was like, okay, we got to win a national race, or we just prove that the kart's good. And now I just look at it. Many could say, yeah, you proved it. The karts can run up in front nationally, but I'm just one of those guys like, yeah, I've already done, once I've already done one thing, it's like on to the next. And not meaning like, okay, I'm going to shut down GC. It's just like, what's the next challenge? It's maybe, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not necessarily easy, but I think it's much harder to build huge dealer networks and maybe even get overseas with, and growing a brand and doing all these little things. And that's, my next step that I want to strive for, try to get into a bigger location or try to, gain or build dealer networks and try to get more karts out there and things like that, and really try to become a powerhouse brand in the U.S. And, I guess, not to say like, oh, it wasn't a big deal what we've done now, but I'm just kind of always been that guy to push to, like, if we're not number one on everything, being it, selling the most karts or having the biggest race teams use our products, or I'm always sitting there like, well, it's not enough. We're not the best at this, or we're not the best at that. We might have been best this race, but that guy is going over, even though they got second or third behind us, he's selling more go-karts than us, or has a bigger platform of dealers than us, and more people are more about that brand, and we're just a little niche brand. Like, how do we get to that next level? Always pushing, always trying to set up, getting bigger, and that's always kind of been my MO. It's like, if you win it once, you don't need to sit there and try to win it 1,000 times. You need to go on to the next challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of it too. Is people need to see. They need to see the brand out there for a couple of years, because these are big investments for people. And what is your dealer program looking like?
Well, right now we have a few dealers. We have, I guess, 3 certified dealers. One on the East Coast would be Mike Rivera and Rivera Racing. They were our very first dealer, and actually got to give a huge shout out to Mike Rivera in the sense that he came to me, I believe it was August, right before we were about to launch our kart. He's like, Gary, I've heard, it's no secret. Everyone knows you're going to do something. We don't all know exactly what it's going to be, but we all know you're doing something. He's like, and I want in. I want in on it. I don't care, I want in. And made a handshake deal, and there he was. I mean, in Vegas, He was our first dealer. I mean, he showed up, he ran our cart, and shout out to him. I mean, he was in and committed to the program before we even launched the product. So I mean, shows how much trust he had in our ability right off the bat. So we got to give a huge shout out to Mike. And then over time, we got Andy Seisman on with Full Throttle Karting, and then also Ryan Ruth down in Phoenix, Arizona, and with Ruthless Karting, he does our shifter carts. So I mean, we have a lot of people that are interested, but like you said, I think everyone's kind of waiting to see if we're like a flash in the pan, or if we're just one of those teams that comes out hot and heavy and then kind of fades away. But I guess I'm one of those guys that's always, if I see that if we do start having success, I knew in my career when I started having quite a lot of success, it's almost like you have to work twice as hard to stay there because everyone else is going to start working harder too. So we're definitely haven't taken any days off, especially through this pandemic. I mean, it actually gave us a little bit of time to maybe look at some things technically that maybe take a lot more time to set up and get, up and running that maybe we wouldn't have been able to do during this season because we'd always been racing and working for the next event. It gave me that time to get the ball rolling on it and get those things done so I can use them and start developing them through the end of this season and then be able to, debut it in 2021, I believe.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really saw. I don't consume a lot of social media. There's one platform I'm on that I'm probably on way too much, but I actually don't do a lot of consuming. I don't know. I think I just like to piss people off and visualize, what was their reaction? But you were one of the few teams that I saw that you were looking for places to go to keep your drivers in shape. And as soon as the whole, COVID news hit, okay, well, where do we go? What do we have to do? And you probably put a lot more miles on your Sprinter and your trailer than you wanted to, but you were out there. And it took probably 2 months before I saw other groups or organizations kind of try to do the same thing. And kind of the way I look at it, it's like, well, now they're 2 months behind you because you've been going out there.
Yeah, I just look at it. It's like, okay, yeah. I mean, it sucks. We can't go to maybe our local tracks, but when I heard that one track was open, it was like, okay, well then we're going there. And even my guys were like, oh, it's so far, this that. I'm like, look, guys. You guys should know, especially the parents, life you're gonna have ups and downs. Sometimes it's gonna be hard. Sometimes you're gonna be riding high. But like, this is our situation. Okay, it's 2 more hours of driving. Get up earlier. Let's go. I mean,
yeah.
If you want to be successful, you're not going to get successful by just staying at home because it's too far to drive. I mean, come on, just let's go. And then once everyone got to the track and they got the competitive juices flowing and then they got the feel in the car, then it was okay. Are we coming back next weekend? Heck yeah, we're coming back next weekend. You don't guys don't have a choice. We're going regardless.
Yeah,
we gotta be out on the track. If we're not, someone else is gonna be, and you're gonna show up to the first race, and you're gonna be wondering why you're so slow and why that guy's so fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just that added determination. And you and I, we keep reflecting on stories that kind of remind us of things. 2 stories that are going to stand out for me. When I found out Moran Raceway was closing, my dad, we hopped into the truck. We brought his cart down. We just shared a cart. So we drove all the way from the Bay Area at the time, all the way down to Beaumont, which is, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours.
6-7 hours. Yeah.
And we did a full day at Moran. We packed up. We drove home. And I don't remember being tired. I don't remember waking up early. I don't remember any of that. What I remember is the road trip with my dad And I remember driving the track that I've never been on before. It's like,